Picture this. It's 7:45 in the morning in Tokyo. Kids are walking to school. Little backpacks, bright yellow hats. No parents. They cross the street and disappear around the corner. Now, London. Same scene. Kids on the city bus, in their uniforms, paying their fares like everyone else. Madrid, walking. Berlin, walking or biking. Mexico City, public bus or a parent on a moped. Now picture a quiet street in suburban Texas. You don't see kids. You see one thing, a massive yellow vehicle, flashing red lights, the little stop sign that swings out from the side. Traffic in both directions freezes, and out steps a single 7-year-old who walks 10 feet to her front door. Almost nowhere else on Earth does this. Not Japan, not Germany, not Brazil. There are about 480,000 of these buses in the United States right now, moving more kids every morning than every airline in America combined. And here's the part that's going to bother you for the rest of this video. The yellow isn't a coincidence. It isn't tradition. It was chosen by one man in 7 days in 1939. And the reason he had to invent it tells you something pretty wild about how America is actually shaped. That's what we're answering today. Let's start with something most people don't realize. In most of the world, kids just don't ride a school-specific bus. They walk, or they take the regular city bus, the same one their dad takes to work. In Japan, elementary kids walk in little groups, and the law actually requires drivers to slow to a crawl when they see them. In China, purpose-built school buses didn't even exist until 2008. So this whole idea, a fleet of identical government-regulated big yellow vehicles dedicated only to children, that's an American invention. And the reason it exists comes down to one thing: distance. Go back to 1919. America has 190,000 one-room schoolhouses. That's not a typo. 190,000 tiny buildings, scattered across the countryside, each one with a single teacher and kids from age 6 to 14, all in the same room. The reason they existed is simple. Kids walked. So a school had to be close enough for the youngest farm kid to walk there in the morning and walk home in the afternoon. About a mile, 2 at most. Then 2 things happened at almost the exact same time. The car arrived, and paved roads followed. Suddenly, a kid didn't have to walk to school. A kid could ride. And once a kid could ride, the math changed. You no longer needed a school every 2 miles. You could have one school every 20 miles and serve 10 times more kids with better teachers and actual science labs. States started doing what they called consolidation, closing the little schools, building bigger ones, and figuring out how to get the kids there. The number of one-room schools went from 190,000 down to about 400 today. Read that again. From 190,000 to 400. That is the real reason America has school buses. Not safety, not tradition, pure geography. We built a country where school is a 30-minute drive from home, and then we had to figure out how to move 26 million children across that distance every single morning. Which brings us to a guy you've never heard of named Frank Sear. In 1939, Sear was a professor at Columbia University's Teachers College. He traveled around rural America watching how kids actually got to school, and what he saw scared him. There were no rules. None. Some kids rode in trucks, some in horse-drawn wagons with a roof bolted on top, some in private cars. And the colors? Red, green, white. Some weren't even painted. So Sear did something kind of incredible. He invited every state's transportation department, every bus manufacturer, and a few paint experts to a hotel in New York City for 7 days. They locked themselves in a room. They taped strips of paint in dozens of colors to the wall, and they argued why they ended up choosing this exact shade of yellow, and how that one decision quietly shaped how 26 million American kids see the world every single morning. Here's what they figured out. The human eye doesn't see all colors equally. There's a specific wavelength sitting right between yellow and orange that hits the cones in your retina that detect red and green at the same time. In your peripheral vision, the part that catches things before you've consciously noticed them. That exact shade is about 1.24 times easier to spot than red. And black letters on that yellow are easier to read in the dim light of dawn and dusk than on any other background. So the color isn't decorative, it's engineered. They named it National School Bus Chrome. Today, it's officially called National School Bus Glossy Yellow, and it has a code, Federal Standard 595A, color 13432. And here's the wild part. Frank Sear didn't just pick a color. In those 7 days, his group wrote 44 standards: the width of the aisle, the height of the ceiling, the size of the door. They standardized the entire vehicle. That's why every yellow bus in America looks basically the same. A kid in Maine and a kid in Arizona ride identical machines. One man, 7 days, one room. And the reason no other country copied us isn't that they couldn't. It's that they didn't need to. Their cities are still designed the way American towns used to be. Close enough to walk. We're the country that spread out. The yellow bus exists because we made the decision, almost without realizing it, that kids would be passengers instead of pedestrians. A kid who walks to school knows their neighborhood. A kid who rides a bus knows the inside of a bus. Neither one is better. But what looks like a quirky American icon is actually the visible result of how we chose to build the country itself. The yellow bus isn't a vehicle. It's a confession. Now, I want to hear from you. If you're watching from outside the US, did you have school buses growing up or did you walk? And if you're American, do you remember your bus number? I bet you do. Drop it in the comments. If you like this, check out this one. See you there.